What's good, y'all? Welcome back to the pod. Welcome back to the Still Called Pod, a pod where we talk about all kinds of things. We talk about the Lord, we talk about redemption, we talk about how we can offer ourselves up to Jesus and just do this walk of faith every single day because it ain't easy. It's not easy at all. And I think that we got to talk about certain struggles and certain things and topics that just aren't really talked about, things that can help us to grow closer to Jesus and things that are authentic rather than polished or perfected. We're coming to Him broken and in need of help. Um, and he still calls us even in that state. We're still called even though we are going through whatever it is we may be going through. We are still called. So welcome to the Still Called Pod. um I was not wearing the shirt before we started going because I was eating and I spilled juice all over my shirt, and I was like, bro. And so I had to change. A few days ago too, I was eating and I was so hungry. This was like during church, during service, before it even started. I was hungry and my stomach was growling and going through the most. And so I get home and I'm about to eat, and then I spill my juice, my freaking juice all over the carpet. Now I gotta put my food down. Now I gotta clean the carpet. I'm like, bro, I just wanted to eat. I just wanted food, man. It didn't have to be this way. Um, but anyway, that has nothing to do with what we talking about. Absolutely nothing. But welcome. Today we're gonna talk about worship. This one is for all my worship leaders out there. If y'all didn't know, I am also a worship leader. Um, we're going to talk about worship. We're going to talk about what it means to worship. We're going to talk about how to worship God in a way that's actually pleasing to Him. These are things that I wish that I knew before I started leading worship, before I ever picked up a mic and stood in front of people and started to lead worship. These are things I wish that somebody would have told me. um, but honestly, to be fair, somebody could tell you this stuff, but until you actually like go through it yourself, it might not hit the same. And I always thought that was just me being stubborn to be like, oh nah, I'm gonna see for myself. I'm gonna learn for myself. And it's not gonna hit as hard until like I actually go through it. But honestly, I feel like sometimes like we could say stuff, but until you actually go through it for yourself and um, you experience some things and the Lord like really imprints it on you, it's like you won't really get it until you get it. Feel me? I heard somebody say is actually I think his name is Joel Barber, who's a worship leader in the UK. He said some things aren't taught, they're caught. Some things are um what you call it, I was gonna say imprinted, imparted. Some things are imparted onto you and not necessarily taught in a textbook, not necessarily taught in the way that you could just study it and you get it and now it's like, okay, cool, I know this. I've gone to the next level with God. Some things you just learn as you go, and that's cool. And I think that there should be grace for that because we're all learning and we're all growing, and that's cool. But these are some things that I have learned that looking back, I'm like, I wish I would have known this before, but low key, it's like, I'm glad I only noticed now because I don't think I would have responded in a way that would have been proactive anyway to like try and avoid going through these things. So that's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about that today. So just a quick little background on me about me performing, singing, leading worship. Um, I grew up. I grew up in a musical family. I sing, I play guitar, my sisters sing. My dad played the guitar when we were growing up. We would have like family Bible studies and everything, and we would um, just sing worship songs together. We go to church. There was music there, worship music playing all the time. And at a young age, I realized that I could sing. The first time I actually sang, though, I was probably less than 10, and I sang in front of my class at school, And this is because somebody found out that I could sing and they were like, "Hey, yo, I'll freaking sing. Let him sing in front of the class." And I'm like, "Nah, nah, nah." But they got me to do it. I couldn't face nobody, so I faced the wall and I started singing. And from that point, it's like I just started to sing more and more at school, from like singing in front of the class to randomly singing in like the hallway with a few people, to singing in assemblies in front of the entire school, to doing like performances like um throughout school, like throughout high school, throughout primary school, grade school, all the things. And I just started to get more and more comfortable um singing and performing in front of people. I started leading worship when I was, how old was I? Like 20, something like that. I was either like 19 or 20. I started leading worship for the first time. And at first, it seemed the same. It seemed like just pull up, just sing, just perform the song, get through the song, get off the stage. Because that's what performing was like for me. I picked a song, I practiced the song like once or twice, and then the performance actually came, and then we're done with it. At first, leading worship, that's what I thought it was like. That's what it felt like for the first few times, until I realized that worship actually starts off the stage. I realized that worship has nothing to do with how good you sound. It has nothing to do with your confidence on the stage. It has nothing to do with your stage presence. It has nothing to do with your voice. If you can hit runs, if you can hit high notes, that doesn't matter. It's like worship starts off of the stage, and true worship begins first in your heart and how you live your life and how you honor God. True worship True worship starts in the way that you are obedient to God, in the way that you live your life for the Lord, not in the way that you get up on stage and can entertain and cry and get emotional on stage. That's not what worship is. Worship starts with you off of the stage, and it starts with your own personal devotion to the Lord. And I think that that's the biggest difference between performing and leading worship, is that worship is all about the Lord, performing is all about you. Worship is about how can I be devoted to the God to God, and basically died to myself and what I want so that he could be worshiped and glorified. Whereas performing for me was, okay, I'm going to get up on stage and I'm going to do this song and I'm going to sound good and hopefully it impresses people, right? Worship starts off stage, and it starts first with your heart and knowing that your gift, your talent, whatever that is, it's like that belongs to God. And every time I'm stepping up on stage, it's not for me. It's not for anyone to clap for me. It's not for anybody to be able to see me. My worship to God, both on a stage or in private, is because I love God. It's because of what God has done for me. There's that verse that says, "We love him because he loved us first." My worship to God is a response to me coming into agreement, but also just acknowledging the love that he has for me, to be like, yo, you love me and I want to worship you because you love me, because you're so good to me. Um, my worship is the sacrifice of the things that I do that separate me from him. Which is probably one of the biggest things. It's one of the biggest things to anyone who thinks that worship is just you being up on stage, playing your guitar, singing, or playing your any other instrument that you play. It's like that's not what worship is. Worship is, how much are you willing to bear your cross? What are you bowing down to, essentially? Worship, you could either worship God or you could worship an idol, which in itself, worship leading can become an idol, which I'm going to talk about a bit later. But I still want to just talk about this first point of worship, of what worship is and like where it starts, is that worship starts by, first of all, you deciding who you want to worship. Do you want to worship the Lord, which includes dying to yourself, which includes not being there for any recognition from anybody else. Or it's like, are you worshiping something else? Are you worshiping an idol? It starts off with where your heart actually is positioned and why you even want to be on a stage in the first place, right? It's like it starts off with your motives, it starts off with your heart. So it's a lot of things. It's a lot of things that goes into what worship actually is and where worship actually starts. But our worship is first and foremost a response to God's love and God's grace for us. And out of that, it's like we respond with just being like, um, firstly, like, I want to offer myself to you, to offer ourselves up as a living sacrifice, as it says in the word, is that's our worship, that's our spiritual worship, to be able to offer ourselves up, which means offering our wants and our desires and the things that we would want to seek, which may be selfish, like recognition or us being seen as like the best person on the stage, the most talented person on the stage, all the little things that we maybe want to receive from the stage. It's like God purifies your heart as you begin to learn to worship him out of love and obedience too. um so for me, that would be the first point, that worship is not the same as performing. Worship is not the same as just singing or having a good voice or being able to play an instrument. Worship is about laying your life down before God, long before you step on a stage, long before you step up in front of people. It's like I remember times where I was in my room alone at like 2 a.m. and I was worshiping. Like I wasn't yelling. Nobody heard me. Nobody saw me. This is when I was at home and living with my family. It's like no one heard me, but I was there and I was on my knees and my heart was positioned as a worshiper to God, not because I was surrounded by people and not because I had a mic in my hand and not because I was on a stage, but because I wanted my life to be I wanted to be a living sacrifice toward God, and I wanted to worship him for all the things that first that he is and the things that he's done for me. And that's where my worship started. That's where all of our worship should start, as a response to him and to his grace. I think where it gets twisted is where we find our identity and we find our value on the stage. And I think the moment that our identity gets wrapped up in it, that's the moment that we have something to address. Um, I remember many times. So like I said, I started leading worship when I was like 20 or something. And at that point I still didn't know what it was. I still didn't know that this is not about me. I didn't know that this had nothing to do with me. I was still just out there having fun. I didn't know how deep it was. And it's like, again, fair enough. It's like if somebody would have told me like this stuff back then, I wouldn't have cared. I wouldn't have listened because I just like we're continually growing with God. And I think we can receive certain things at certain times. So it's like I wouldn't have cared. But like my my identity firstly is that I'm a child of God. It's firstly that I'm loved by the Lord and that he loves me because he loves me. And that while I was a sinner, he died for me just because he cares and just because he loves me. But there's been many times. So, like I said, back when I first started leading worship, there's times where I would find my confidence in the fact that I could sing, my confidence in the fact that, I was hitting harmonies, that this thing came naturally to me. Like I had been singing since I was a little kid. I've been playing guitar since I was a little kid. And I'm like, this is coming natural to me. It's like I'm good at this. And that's where I found my identity, was in the fact that I'm actually good at singing. But leading worship is a whole different story. Leading worship is you coming to terms with the fact that your gift is not even yours. Your gift is not even yours. There's a verse that says that the gifts of God are irrevocable, which means he won't take them away. But at the same time, the purpose of our spiritual gifts, our talents, they're not for us to hoard and keep. They're for us to give back to the Lord and give to the church for the edification of other people, to help other people, for service of other people. I'm thinking about the parable of the talents where, um, one received 10, one received 5, one received 1, I believe. And the ones with 10 and the ones with 5 multiplied what they had. They multiplied the talent that they had. The one with the 1 buried it and kept it hidden. Um, and sometimes that's what we can do. It's like we can take the talent that we have and we can keep it hidden for whatever reason, to be honest. But it's like we can hold onto it so tightly and so dearly. But the purpose for us is not to actually keep it for ourselves. It's not for us to actually hold on to it tightly. It's for us to actually release back to God and to the church, so that we could use those gifts to bless other people. um I think one of the most crushing things is when our identity is placed in anything but God, and then when that thing gets taken away or pulled away, or it's not something that you could do anymore, it's like you see like where your actual identity was. If you place your identity in your job, if you place your identity in a relationship, you place your identity in anything other than God, if that thing were to be taken away, you would be taken away too. Our identity was never meant to be found on a stage. Our identity was never meant to be um, found in the fact that we can sing or that we can play an instrument. Our identity, first and foremost, is a child of God. Because, again, if we go back to what I was talking about, the moment where I was in my room at 2 a.m. worshiping the Lord was long before I ever picked up a mic or stepped on a stage to lead worship in front of people. At that point in time, the Lord already called me his and already gave me an identity as his child. And so nothing that we could essentially add on to that is going to be anything that can replace the identity that we have. Anything else becomes an idol. Anything else becomes something that we have to address. If every time you're getting up on worship and you're more concerned about how you sound, you're more concerned about what people think, how they're going to look at you, if you're going to hit all the right notes, you're more concerned about like everything that has to do with you pretty much, and you're not even concerned about the people that you would be leading, or you're not even concerned about the Lord and giving glory to God, or even how your own personal worship in your life is like. Again, we were talking about your own personal devotion and your obedience to God, not even just worshiping alone, like in your house. It's like, how are you living your life? If you're not concerned about that, but you're concerned about everything else, I would say that there's something to address there, because you might have your identity wrapped up in a stage more than your identity is wrapped up in the Lord, you know? Um, if I was gonna say something and it left my head just now. Hold on, give me a second. Um, if if every time we're stepping up on a stage, it's like that's the most important thing to us, and it's like we've got something else to address. If that is what becomes an idol in our lives, then we would have to come to a place where that actually needs to be laid down before God. Because I think of it like this, and this is just because of me and what God has done in my heart, and because of like the process I've gone through. Because it's what I've been telling y'all this whole time. It's like I found my identity in the stage. I found my identity in being a leader. I found my identity in being able to sing or play guitar or whatever it is, or whatever it might be for you. But if God were to come and tell me and be like, yo, Alfred, you are never going to pick up a guitar. You are never going to pick up a mic. You are never going to stand in front of people on a stage and lead worship, I would be okay with that. I genuinely would be okay with that. And the reason why is because my identity no longer is found in a stage. I'm no longer idolizing being up on a stage, or gaining my recognition or my validation from people, because I'm validated by the Lord. And I truly know that in my heart now. Um, a while ago, I wouldn't have been able to tell you that. I wouldn't have been able to say that confidently, but I am no longer validated by a stage. Um, and the only reason I would get up on a stage is if first my own life is in alignment with the Lord, is if my own personal worship to the Lord is pure and holy. It's like if I'm living in obedience to God and I'm actively chasing after him, dying to self, worshiping him with my life first, then I can step up on a stage. I'll be like, cool, I want to step up on a stage right now. I'm not talking about perfection. I'm not talking about you not struggling with anything. I'm saying, are you devoted to God, and are you committed to growing with the Lord? Are you actually laying your life down, or are you making excuses to be like, hey man, everybody struggles with this. It's like, I'm trying, but like, are you actually trying? You know? Um I that's the point, that I could get up on a stage and be like, okay, cool, I'm here. Or even to just be on this podcast. It's like, y'all can take this mic away from me. First, I don't care to be here. And I said, let me rephrase that. I care to be here. I care to be here because I care about this podcast. I care to be here because I care about um being able to help others, to see that they're still called by God, they're still called by the Lord, they're loved by the Lord, all the things. But it's like my identity is not even in doing this podcast. It's like if my life does not match um anything that I'm talking about on here, y'all can take this mic away from me. It would actually be better for y'all to take this mic away from me than for me to try and present perfect and present a different way just so I could continue doing this. It's like the moment your identity becomes wrapped up in a stage, or wrapped up in a title, in a position, in a function, it's like you have something to address, because that was never the Lord's intended plan and purpose for your gift. That was never the Lord's intended plan and purpose for the way that you are to share your gift or steward your gift. It was never meant for you to find your fulfillment and purpose, and identity in. It was for you to express your calling and your purpose, but it was never meant for you to find your validation and your identity and your reason for being, your reason for living and breathing. It was never meant to be that. And so something has to be addressed. So again, firstly, worship starts off stage. Worship starts in your heart. What are you devoted to? What do you how do you live? How are you laying down your own life for the Lord? And are you more concerned about him than you are concerned about recognition from people or validation from people? And second, where's your identity placed? Is your identity placed in a stage, or is your identity placed in the Lord? Do you get your validation from him, or do you get your validation from people? Are you up on the stage to satisfy some selfish need that you have to be able to be seen by people? Or it's like, are you using your gift to give it back to the Lord and give it back to people, because you know that first and foremost it's his gift. You know that you're already validated by God, and you don't got to get up on stage to prove that to nobody. If the Lord were to take it away, would you still have your identity in him, or would your identity be ripped away with whatever it is that was ripped away? Right? That's important. That's incredibly important. Something else that I want to talk about is that you can worship through pain. There's been many times where I was struggling and going through things, and wrestling with sin. So again, like, I wasn't talking about perfection. I'm not talking about you don't struggle with nothing, but like, are you devoted to continue walking toward the Lord? Um, so like, because again, nobody's perfect. Nobody's gonna do it perfectly. Nobody's just not struggling with nothing. But are we devoted to walking with the Lord and laying down what it is? Because again, that is our true worship to God. Um, But yeah, in the moments when I was like going through stuff and just struggling and tired and hurt and all the things, it's like I didn't realize that I could worship through pain, and that worshiping in my pain could actually be an avenue for me to go into a deeper experience with God. So, for anyone who's currently leading right now and you're in pain and you're leading worship and you keep showing up and you're like, the Lord is showing up for other people as I'm leading worship, but the Lord is not showing up for me. Because I felt like that. I felt like that too, is that you could actually worship through your pain. And that could possibly create an avenue for you to experience the Lord in a way that you haven't experienced Him before. So, yesterday I was reading in Matthew 8, um, two, two little passages, but they both have to do with faith. And the first one talks about the faith of a centurion, this dude that pulls up while Jesus is like, um, Jesus is just out here. He's out here being Jesus, you know. He's out here healing people, all the things. And then a centurion comes by and he's like, yo, my servant is lying paralyzed at home and is suffering terribly. Um, and um, Jesus is like, I'll come and I'll heal him. And the centurion is like, Lord, I am not worthy to have you come under my roof, but only say the word, and my servant will be healed. And when Jesus heard this, he marveled because of the man's faith. He marveled as at the man's faith because he knew that Jesus was able to do um, a miracle, even if he wasn't in the actual physical vicinity, right? Okay, now there's another story just a few verses after that talks about the disciples in the boat with Jesus. And when Jesus calms the storm, when he's asleep in the boat and the disciples are freaking out because they're like, yo, we're about to die. And he's asleep in the boat and he gets up and he's like, why are you afraid, oh, you of little faith? And he rose up and he calmed the storm, and they were like, what sort of man is this that even the winds and the sea obey him? Um, and what I found really interesting about that is that both of these stories are talking about faith. Both of these stories are talking about how our expression of faith and our acts of faith aren't dependent on the time of life that we're in. This centurion, first of all, bro wasn't even a Jew, which is different. Because later on it talks about how it's like Jesus says people as far from the east and the west will come to recline at table with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob in the kingdom of heaven. Right. And he's basically talking about how, like, it's not just going to be Jews up in heaven. It's not just going to be Israelites. It's going to be people from everywhere. It's going to be Gentiles grafted in because of their faith, because we're saved by grace through faith. But like this centurion is in front of Jesus and he's seen that Jesus can do miracles. And he's like, yo, I don't even need you to be like in the room right now for you to heal my servant. I know that if I just say it, if I pray it and I believe that you can do it, it's like I know you'll do it. And I feel like sometimes life can feel like that, where it's like it's not difficult to believe, it's not difficult to have faith. And sometimes we can lead worship out of a place where it's like we genuinely are feeling great. We're feeling like God can move all the mountains. We're feeling like there's nothing difficult for God. It's like there's no challenge, there's no doubt in our mind of how powerful God is. And sometimes we're in that place, and leading worship is easy in that place. But sometimes we're like the disciples in the boat where they see the waves and they literally say in verse 25, save us, Lord, we are perishing. They hadn't perished yet. It's like what they see in front of them is so it's so scary, and it's seemingly bigger than God. And they're freaking out about it, but Jesus is still in the boat with them, and he says, why are you afraid, you of little faith? What I see here is that we can choose to worship even when we're feeling great, and we could choose to worship even when we're feeling scared. In chapter 8, verse 10, it says, when Jesus heard this is talking about the centurion, it said, when Jesus heard this, he marveled. And I was like, Jesus marvels at the sight of our faith, right? And I don't think it just applies to when we're doing great. I think it applies to when we're doing terribly too. That we could be all the way up here, or we could be all the way down here, but we could still choose to have faith, and we could still choose to lead worship through pain out of faith. Not because we're trying to like fake it or whatever, but it's like we can still choose to um use the gift that he's given us to lead people into hope, even though we are ourselves are feeling hopeless. But that itself is an act of faith that he looks at and he marvels at. I share that because like I felt like, why am I leading if I'm feeling like this? If people are being helped but I'm not being helped, if they're feeling like they're feeling the presence of God doing worship, and I'm the one who's actually leading the song and I can't feel his presence. It makes me think of Jesus because he had a greater mission ahead of him. His mission was to come from heaven to earth to die for the sins of those who hated him so that we could be reconciled to the Father. So as Jesus is on the cross, he's feeling forsaken, he's feeling abandoned, he's feeling all these things. But he didn't get down. He didn't get down from the cross because he had a greater purpose. He was worshiping through his pain. Him going through with that decision was his obedience and his worship to the Father out of the fact that he had a greater mission and a greater purpose, right? And if he hadn't had done that, we would not be having this conversation. We would not be in a place where we can see the Lord and grow with the Lord. If you hadn't been willing to go and lead worship after having, you know, the most terrible season of your life, right? And this is not to say like, you know, just push through it, you'll be right. Like, nah, I'm not saying that. But there are times where we can actually worship through our pain. And even in the times where we think that this did absolutely nothing, this did nothing for me because I'm hurting, I'm bleeding out, I'm in pain, I'm feeling abandoned. This is helping somebody. This is helping somebody else, even though I don't feel like it's directly helping me. But again, Jesus is marveling at your faith for even showing up in the first place, which leads me to the last point that I want to talk about is that leading worship is costly. Leading worship is about service, leading worship is about souls, and leading worship is about Jesus. Every time I step up on stage, um, or I even step up to this mic and turn on the camera, I'm thinking about how this is costly. I'm thinking about how this is service. This has nothing to do with me wanting to look spiritually mature, with me wanting to share anything that could um basically like puff me up. This has nothing to do with me wanting to gain recognition or anything. It's like this is about service and this is about souls. This is about Jesus. Every time I lead worship now, I'm not just looking at people, I'm looking at souls. I'm looking at people, souls who are having a difficult time, souls who are loved by the Lord, souls who are burdened in carrying things. And even though like I may be carrying things too, I'm like, okay, this is a moment where we can all come together and just bear our souls to God, right? We can bear our souls to God and ask for his help and ask for his grace. It's like this is no longer about what I can get out of this. This is now, how can I continue with that same posture of humility and obedience and service and worship to God when I'm alone, that came out of a place where he met me in my brokenness and now I just want to worship him. Now it's like, how can I share that with the souls in front of me? How can I share that with the souls and be of service to them so they can also experience the Lord and His grace. And in that moment, it's like, it's for me too. In that moment, we're all lifting up our burdens to Jesus. But that is costly. The reason why it's costly is because it's not about you. It's not about, it's not about how well you're sounding. It's not about what people think of you. If people think you're the best vocalist on the team, it's not about like you being a great leader, all the things. It's not about anything selfish. It's not about anything that has to do with you. This is all about God. This is all about obedience and worship to the Lord, firstly, starting within your heart and then outwardly to people as service and to the Lord as true worship and an offering to Him. So again, this is what I wish I knew about worship, but once again, I don't think I would have understood it the same way. I don't think it would have hit the same way. I don't think it would have had the same impact that it's had on me now. Cause I could have it would have all just been head knowledge. It wouldn't have been anything that would hit my heart. Because right now, again, it's like I can say that I don't need to be leading worship. I don't need to be here speaking to you on this podcast. I don't need that. But it's like I want to do it because I feel that God has given me those gifts of service to people and to the Lord, right? And that's the only reason why I want to do it. It's out of worship to Him. So again, worship starts off of the stage, not on the stage. Our worship is sustained and actually grows in the moments when we are alone, when nobody sees a single thing that we're doing. It's from the moment where we are making sacrifices that nobody will ever know about. We are choosing to be obedient and nobody will ever hear about the struggle of that obedience. That's where the worship starts. um, Knowing that your identity is in the Lord and your identity is not in the stage. Your identity is not in your musical ability. Your identity is not in the recognition that people give you. Your identity is in the Lord. And the reason why you have that gift is because God gave it to you and He wants you to express it to edify the church, but also to give Him glory. Not for you to find validation in the gift, but to be empowered to use that gift because you're already validated by God. Um, Next thing is that you could worship through pain. You don't always have to be in the happy state or the most your easiest time in life to worship the Lord. You can worship the Lord through joy and chaos. You can worship the Lord when you're certain and worship the Lord when you're scared. And the last thing is that this is costly. It's about service, it's about souls, and it's about Jesus. This is not about us. This is not about the gifts that we have. It's not about getting any recognition. It's about service to the souls who may not know Jesus at all, or souls that are feeling burdened and heavy. It's partnering with the Lord and consistently. Here's the way I see it. It's like every time you get on stage, the first thing in your mind is like when you get off stage, it's like, I want to get back in the Lord's presence and I want to give Him the glory. Get the glory off of me because I'm not fit to carry it. I'm not fit to carry any sort of glory because I'll get prideful. I'll make this about me. So first of all, I'm getting off the stage and I'm giving glory to God and I'm realizing that this is out of service to Him and to His people. And the higher that I go, I actually want to get lower. The higher that I go um in the gift or whatever it is, and it's like the Lord is increasing you and growing you and all the things. It's like you actually want to get lower and and humble yourself before God, to get back to that same place of the very first time that He met you, whether it was, whether it was the moment where you first experienced Jesus when you were going through the hardest thing. For me, it was the moment in my bedroom at 2 a.m. when I'm worshiping the Lord, when nobody can hear me, when nobody is looking at me, no one is seeing what I am doing here, right? It's like I constantly want to continue to go back to that place because that's where it all started. That's where I was first given my identity by God. And that's where I want to remain because that is the most safe place for me. Anything but that, where I forget that this is costly, where I forget that this is about service, where I forget that this is about souls, and I forget that this is about Jesus, it becomes about me. And I'm not fit to carry that. I'm not fit to carry that glory. I'm not fit to carry that weight. That shouldn't be what worship means to us. Um, so yeah, I hope that this was helpful for any of the worship leaders watching this. I hope that this is hopeful and helpful for anybody who hasn't led worship but feels like they're being called to lead worship or called to lead in any capacity. Honestly, I think that this could be applied to a lot of different things, not just worship. Anything that involves you expressing your gift like publicly to anybody. Um, it's like I think that this can be of value to you in, a number of different areas. So I truly, truly, truly hope that this has blessed you and that this helps you because this helps me. And I want to keep this posture, and we should all keep this posture before God because this is the safest place that we could be at. So thank you so much for watching. Appreciate y'all. Love y'all. And I'll catch you in the next one. Peace. Wild year, tears fell, but I'm still here. It's all well, the struggle still going, still real. But I got a new hope that I feel. It's been a while.